Hello, friends and fellow music enjoyers. Well, we'll see if it's music. We're going to do a different kind of Let's Play today. We're going to do something been meaning to do for quite a while here, but it's not going to be a game. It's going to be a piece of audio software, and it's Arturia's Pigments. Now, if you've stumbled into my channel by accident and you're looking for a tutorial, this isn't it. There's lots of good ones out there. We're going to do basically a Let's Play of a piece of this software. So we're going to just build something. We'll see if it turns out to be a patch or maybe, I don't know. We'll see what it is. I've got some ideas, so let's get started. I'm not going to do a terrible amount of explaining, other than basically you got a couple little engines here to create stuff. You can create basic waves. You can use wavetables. You can use samples. You've got a selection of stuff. Lots of little options. It's a great program. I'm, again, typically averse to, I think everybody knows my feelings on user interface on a lot of games. Well, this is a piece of software that I think that actually does a good job of user interface for music software, which I often find not great. So this one's really good. We've got a little synth engine here, a little keyboard. I don't have a keyboard in front of me, so we'll use this. I've got a lot of possibilities of things we can do. And what do we have here? Got some FX. We got a sequence. Now let's make sure we're loading up okay, we'll load up something blank. So we're starting out with nothing here. Just make sure that we're got a clean slate. Now, this is Pigment 7, if anybody's wondering. It was updated a little while ago. So it doesn't look the same, some changes. And I've got it in light mode because I just find it easier to see what I'm doing. So let's get started. I think what we're going to do is try to do something that's sort of, not chiptune, but chiptune-ish. We're going to do something a little video gamey here because that seems appropriate. So let's pick some analog wave here, and we're going to go with the square wave. I'm just going to go square all down. I'm not sure what we'll do eventually, but let's just start with that. And same thing over here. We'll turn on Engine 2. Oop. And we're going to go with, let me pick something else. Categories, I don't want a piano. What do we want? Oh, up here. There we go. I'm looking for an analog engine, and same thing. So we're going to get some square waves going. And that's going to give us a nice little sound. As we go, I'll talk along as I start off here, but as we get going further in, if the sound takes off, I'll probably be more and more quiet. If you got comments or questions or whatever, throw it in the comments field. I'll do my best. I'm not a professional musician, you may have guessed, but I enjoy making noises. So let's enjoy making some noises. So basically, we've got a thing here that's going to allow us to do like a little, nice little sound. Let's turn it down a little bit. Still might be a little bit loud, but let's find a little. I don't know how this is going to come across. So I can play with it all later. I'll record my my audio separate, so it's not me under muffled synth. Okay, so we've got some sounds going. Now, as you heard, I hit it. We just get a one hit, but we can hold it. And we get a nice sustained note. So we're going to play with that because what we're going to do next is, I think we'll jump right ahead to it. We'll play with the filtering and everything in a bit, but we're going to get, this is why I think the magic of Arturia is in its sequencing. So we're going to set up a sequencer. Looks like a lot of stuff. It's really not. If any of this just looks overwhelming, the first time you open any program, it kind of is. I could never come in and do this Let's Play cold because my brain would melt if I looked at an audio program and I saw all the stuff. So it's okay if you're feeling that way because it is a lot of stuff. So we got a basic sequence here. So I've turned this thing on. So if I were to hit a note now, you can hear it's just doing this. Okay, we're going to stop that because that's wildly irritating. What we're going to want to do is create something varied. Now, again, I think one of the cool things about Arturia is they do sequencing quite well, and they allow us to do some interesting randomization. So why don't we try something where every 2 bars we have we'll use a generative key or scale. So we'll just stick with contrasting minor. Whatever. I don't know my scales well enough to know what some of these would. I mean, it's not a real scale, but it's like whatever it is. And then I'll stick with instead of going with BPM, I'll just leave it in its whatever it currently is set to. We can monkey with this afterwards. We don't want any swing. So what's going to happen here as we set this thing in motion, each of these things has a dice, and it's, set to a certain amount of variability. So your pitch, your velocity, octave, gate length, and your slide. So the overall, tone of of sound, each note or each, it is going to be shaped a little bit by this. So let's hear what we've got going on now. Much different. Okay. So we're going to go back over to the synth and let's start sculpting. There we go, it's slightly less deafening. Okay, so we've got these two different engines that are sort of they're each playing a square note or square wave at this, simultaneously, but they're going off separately a little bit here. We're playing with that so you can hear the different sounds coming through. So we're going to filter each one of these to give them more sort of texture. But what I want to do is make sure that filter 1 is going to filter engine 1 and filter 2 is going to filter engine 2. So we're going to split these. We're going to turn this one on. And then we've got a low pass filter here. I'll just stop this for a sec. So I think one of the things that makes this also a really great program is that we can now assign a lot of this stuff in the middle that you're like, what is all this stuff? There's you can play with the envelopes, your LFOs, and you can apply functions, which is you can basically draw little shapes or the randomness, which was what I'm going to use for this. You can use a lot of these things, and they do, similar-ish things sometimes. If we come down here to random, we can see we've got 3 different randomizations, and one of them we can go sample and hold, voice modulator, touring, or binary. Now they give all kind of slightly different things. Let's go with touring here, and you can see it's affected by these parameters. So do we want to mess with it right now? I'm pretty happy, and you can see they're variable. We'll go with no. Let's go with just random. Is that the one? No, which one was giving me a wave? No. Oops. And binary wouldn't be it, would it? It's just like a pulse wave. I guess it's just on how we choose to sculpt this thing. Okay, we're going to leave these. They're all 3 are showing up as different right now. So we've got 3 different options, and then here they are. So what we can do is we can grab this, and I can drop it on one of the knobs. And as we activate the thing, this thing is going to be have this much of a space to have randomness built in. So it's going to shift around. So it adds some momentum or movement, basically, to the sound that you've got. So I'll apply different sounds to each one, and we'll see what that's going to sound like. Let's see. Resonance raises that up a little bit at the end. We can go like, woo, but that gives a weird sound. So again, we're going to just keep playing with all of this. It doesn't really matter if you're going, I don't get this. I don't get half of it. It's all good. Okay, so there's a little sound. Let's go back to making sounds now. I'm not sure why this filter is not. F2. Yeah, no, that's what we have. Okay, I'm not sure why that's going currently. Okay, let's try that again. I'll assign this different one to it. Nope, not sure why it's not doing anything. I probably don't have a setting in here where I'm sending it yet. Let's see. Oop. Okay, now we can start messing with the oscillator. Yeah, I don't care about that. So if we double click on something, it'll just reset its value. Again, I'm not even sure if if I sync this, will it, what says at the bottom, when active oscillator 2 is hard synced to the frequency of oscillator 1. Yeah, I don't think I want that. No. Okay, here's some modulation happening there. Things are dancing around a little bit. Okay. Do I want to add some noise to this? Probably. In our utility engine, we can also add noise. And we can turn that down a little bit. And that's another thing that we could apply randomization to, is like, okay, and then we've got same thing. So, it's very much like a Let's Play where you like explore around. I mean, I think that's one of the things that I find appealing about doing, playing with music software, is it's about exploration. I think some people would approach this, if you were, skilled, you would know what you're doing, what you want. I have some idea sometimes of what I'm attempting, but then there's other times where you just come in and you start kind of sculpting, and you just try to find something in there. Let's apply some FX to this. So we got our first FX channel here. Let's go to add let's add a bit crusher, which is fitting for what we're doing. We're going to bring it into the mix quite a bit. And no, I don't know what that does. So high pass. And jitter. And do we want this to be smooth? No, we don't. I don't think. And then the bit depth. We can hear how crunchy we want that. I think I'm also going to add some distortion. A little bit. Let's see here. And again, these are things that we can soft clip, overdrive. I think I would... Why don't we try a little bit of... Gives it that sort of muffled feeling. I'm not sure that's making a difference. Soft clipping. Let's try basic distortion. I don't know that I want this here. We'll play around. What else would we maybe want in here? Corroder's just going to kind of like degrade it. Delay. And delay might not sound so good. Maybe a tiny bit of reverb, but like... What do we have? We don't want to be in a cathedral. Gives a little bit of echo-ness. I don't know that that's what we want. Okay, I had to take a phone call from a child, so maybe you probably noticed our notes jumped around there. Let's see. So where were we? We were in the middle of trying to apply a little bit of FX to this. So I added some reverb. I'm going to leave it on for the moment. We can change it later. There's some also at the very end here. Oh, okay. You know what? Let's just get rid of this reverb. That's fine. Is there anything else we want to add in this? I don't think so at the moment. There's all kinds of effects, but I don't know that they're all going to be super... That definitely takes us out of that vibe. We could play with the... which one is it? It's going to be the wet dry that... Which one brings these together? There we go. Where you go? I guess that kind of adds something interesting. Why don't we try and play with that a little bit? Let's go here. And then we'll keep it within a fairly small window. It's kind of neat. Yeah, we're not making anything super traditional here. Okay, now we've got some noise going on here. Oh, there we go. This is probably why. That's... Filter mix. I must have something sad a bit weird. That's fine. Now, what else would we want to change? I was curious if... Are we really affecting... I'm not sure how I have these. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm making any effect on this. These... Oh, no, I probably have to turn this up, because then... That's right. So these are going to frequency modulate the primary wave here. I think. No. Is that off or on? No, that was on. I don't know what that's doing. All right, let's leave it alone. Let's just pretend we didn't see it. We'll walk out of the room quietly. I kind of like what it's producing. Let's monkey around here with the sequencing itself. So I like the pitch, velocity. Yeah, I'm happy with how it's I mean, it's with the gate length 30%. So there's a 30%. I think it's 30% chance that it will randomize the gate length. None of it's too egregious. Let's try it. This is gonna go wild for a sec. So if you want to go from like, well, that's a bit slow. So, hero's journey begins to a bit of adventure to coming up on an end boss. Yeah, there's nice options here too. I don't know that this will sound good. We can go try polymetry. So it adds a bit more randomized feel as everything's not running in line, but you can reset that too. Once it hits the end, it'll reset the whole thing. I guess on every 2 bars it'll reset. There you go. And then it gets weird. Just like increasing levels of randomization. And again, I'm enjoying the sound of this. It's hard to say, like, sometimes when I listen to them, like, does this sound good outside of my own head? I don't know. Does it matter? Eh. Oh, there we go. Oops, I had the cutoff set too far. That's what was the problem. Let's back these off. There we go. We solved that mystery. So is that these slightly differently? This is now making more sense. Now, do I like that? It gets a bit like, a bit too choppy. Maybe get rid of these. Yeah, I think there's already enough variability. Filter too hard. Okay, well, let's go back up here and play around maybe with our noise. And when active, the engine follows the key that is pressed. Now that doesn't matter, I don't think. Okay, and noise 1, random key. Oh, okay, whatever. I'm gonna leave that. And then we got 50% going to each filter, right? So that's good. That's fine. Filter. We have no filter. We can go low pass or high pass. Let's go this one. Low pass and this one. Or sort of this one high pass, that one low pass. So we'll let high notes and low notes go. Does that really give us any more variability? I don't know. Come down here, we can see the envelopes we have going. Yeah, I don't know that I need to fiddle with these really. I think if we were playing stuff that had like longer sustains and we wanted it to seem a bit more lush or like cinematic, I'd get in here and mess with this, but we're dealing with such punchy percussive sounds. You want pretty tight envelopes anyway. And we want the note to be able to run through the whole, like the envelope and the note. Like, we don't want the envelope to just hit here before the note is decayed or ended anyway. So it sounds pretty good. I think if it didn't sound good, we could mess with that, but I feel pretty happy with that. And the functions, yeah, so we're hitting here before our envelope's done anyway. I always forget what's combinate. Put gain attack release threshold. Envelope follower. Oh, okay. Oh, so we can choose. Yeah, so you can get into some very sophisticated stuff here. I like this stuff, but I don't have a lot of experience playing with it, so I think I'm going to leave it alone as well. I think if you're starting to do some really interesting synthesis with that kind of stuff, you can produce some very cool results. Again, for what we're doing here, I think it's not really essential. The other thing that is kind of cool with this program is if you're overwhelmed by everything, you can even just turn off the visibility thing here. Where is it? There's a way of turning off the display. I'm probably looking right at it. Oh, there we go. Disable visualizer. So you can just turn that off even if you find that disruptive. I'm going to leave it on. But this is a nice simplified view of what we're doing. So you've got engine 1, engine 2, your utilities, filters, your amplitude envelope. And then you've got a couple of your FX and out. That's it. And then you can sit in here if you had a keyboard plugged in, say, and you were writing something that was not sort of generatively sequenced. You could play very nicely in here. Okay, let's play with this a little bit. We'll try and mix it up a bit more. Well, I don't know that we can or want to do that, but let's try longer. Let's go with 4 bars. I'm going to turn this off. So you get bit more repetition. But if you find like a good, I think you can just stop it. If you clears all random values, no, we don't want that. Press it to transform. Okay, then we would, yeah, if we like something, we would do this. And does that work? I think that'll hold the idea. Or you can just hit the dice here and re-roll your... But let's go with quarter bars. Won't even get through a full bar before it's been randomized. It's kind of choppy sounding. Let's go one full bar. We'll turn that BPM down. Okay, let's go back to our synths. Let's mess with these a little bit. Vocoder doesn't really work. Well, it's very easy to just go into full noise mode here. Whoa. Let's turn that off. That's not the kind of music we're going for here. Although I like that, yeah, right at your hand, right at grasp, you have some pretty gnarly tools. I'll just leave it as white noise. So I think you can see it. Again, it does feel like when you're playing with generative sequencing, it can feel like a cheat code. But I mean, it's really just, it's noodling through permutations, and I think it sometimes can lean you in a direction of finding new ideas, because it would come up with sequencing that you would normally not lean to. Because I think whenever anybody creates anything, or even when we play a normal video game, we play a certain way. And I think it kind of forces you off the way that you normally do things, which I find really interesting. I enjoy generative sequencing because I think it just produces, it lets you focus on the sound, and it produces, sequence melodies and patterns that you wouldn't normally come to. And maybe will spur a hole. You go, oh, that's a really cool, way to, I like that pattern. Let's build percussion off of that. And then that takes you in a new direction, which is kind of interesting. But it does feel like, I can imagine some people probably can't stand generative sequencing. I don't know. I love it. I like this part. I like that you can get in here and start messing with things a little bit more. Yeah, I like the crunchiness. So we could come up with something very like... The engine 2 is not even sending, is it? Or engine 1. It's my cutoff 2. Just a little bit there. Okay. I guess it's basically the noise we're hearing, or that seems like it's the noise off of this thing. I love it sometimes too, where you'd be like, huh, what am I doing? Like, what am I? Yeah, I'll reset that. So I think it's in there. Yeah, there it is. So I think if we had these both, you'd hear a little bit more variability. We're really only hearing one of the engines predominantly. The other one was like just a shadow. So there we go. It's already sounding like something quite a bit different. Though I did like the ooh, that's bassy. Or was for a second. It had a nice whoom. Yeah, let's go back to this. So we could, if we like the gate length, let's play with that. So now those aren't changing. Trying to slide down a little bit. We'll see how much this is really impacting things. I'll turn the octave changes down a little bit. Yeah, I'll turn all of it down a little bit. I do like that you can do this in real time too. Okay, yeah, we're gonna give a low probability that the gates will change. Let's go back to 2 bars. We'll raise the slide and the gate length up a little bit. It's nice to have that. We'll raise up that probability that, there we go, that when it starts sounding stuck, you can adjust the probability that, that variable will change, and it get kind of, it's like you're giving the machine a kick. We could go and I think while it's playing, we can just randomly say, you know what, let's add some more stuff. Then we could turn the variability, I think, down when you do that. So now there's only a 25% chance that a gate will close, or not a gate will close, I don't know what you would call it, a beat within the sequence, or a step within, a step would not trigger. So it gives it a little funky, feels like a little bass sequence. Yeah, I kind of like that. Let's go back to trying to play with the filter a little bit. It gives it a little bit more dance, like just within the, not the sequence, but the sound itself feels a little bit more jittery. Now, would you call this music? I don't know. I think so. It's something a little bit, it's got an edge to it. I think you'd have to still refine the sequence itself, and the steps feel a little bit too abrupt. That's the sense I get. I'm not sure how I would want to go about doing that. I like too that you can run it'll go forwards and then back before it resets. Again, depending on the sequence, it can sound really cool. I don't even know what do we have? Okay. Acid, baseline. Wow. So a lot of sequence that you could pull up, even a preset sequence, and then you could start playing off of that, which I think is pretty powerful. It's still a little bit punchy. I don't know what I would do to try to change that. Is it that I want to change the pitch less likely? Or more? Yeah, the pitch change almost helps it that the kind of truncated sound makes it feels a little bit more natural when it squawks and it sounds like the slide. Then you could go and just manually set at least the no slide. Or is that the problem? We want more. So I think what we're going to do is, as we go through as I do more Let's Plays of these things, each time what I'm going to attempt to do is kind of take a different sound or a different engine in here, and we'll just noodle around. I think now that you kind of see the basics, it gives you, these are sort of the building blocks that you can work off of. You can do some very radically different things in this, especially if you get into granular synthesis or start playing with wavetables. The sound is like nothing like this. So this is like one thing, and that'd be a good point because it kind of ties into what we already listen to all the time, which is bleep bloop music. But yeah, I think if you were doing sound design, or even you're trying to produce stuff for games and stuff, these sorts of tools are a lot of fun. If it isn't your output, it's at least a way to kind of approach thinking about what it is you want to accomplish, or set you off in new directions. And again, the longer I listen to a sequence, as both, the more I think it might sound good, which might be totally wrong. But it's like, the quieter I get, the more I was like, yeah, I think I like the sequence. But then I listen to it later and I'm like, what is that? Why did I get mesmerized? You get falsely absorbed into this. I always think if this was the game, if this was music in a game, would I enjoy it? In limited doses, yes. Yeah, I could listen to robots talk all day. Right, I think that's probably a good point for us to jump off here. Yeah, like I said, next time we'll come out and try and do something else. Leave your thoughts below. I hope to do more of these. I'd like to do a few other different types of programs as well. As much as I hate software synthesis programs, I also kind of love them, and sometimes you just find something interesting in them, and it takes you in an interesting direction. And so hopefully what I'll try and do is challenge myself a little bit to get over my aversion to them and to tackle them more, because this is a good way to also, it sort of forces me to dig deeper on this. And I think that's probably a good thing. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed, and we will see you all next time. Till then, bye-bye.